Welcome to the future! No, don't change the channel. You really have found New Visions United Methodist. This is our Sunday morning worship. I'm Doyle Burbank Williams, but we are time traveling this morning. Actually, we have time traveled. That the events of the last year, the pandemic and everything else have taken us from the history that we knew and have shoved us into a future that most of us just aren't ready for. But you know, there is one who travels with us and reconnects us, relocates us in the midst of this changing world. So please join us for worship together virtually in this new technology as we seek the one who is our location and who is our way. Come, worship with the people of New Visions.
Come and find the quiet center in a crowded life we lead. Find the room for hope to enter. Find the frame where we are free. Clear the chaos and the clutter. Clear our eyes that we can see all the things that really matter. Be at peace and simply be. Silence is a friend who claims us, cools the heat and slows the pace. God it is who speaks and names us, knows our being, touches base, making space within our thinking, lifting shade to show the sun, raising courage when we're shrinking, finding scope for faith begun. In the Spirit let us travel, open to each other's pain. Let our loves and fears unravel, celebrate the space we gain. There's a place for endless dreaming, there's a time for heart to care. In the Spirit's lively scheming, there is always room to spare.
Hands open to the day, Breathe in, breathe out. Hands joined as if to pray. Breathe in, breathe out. Arms reaching to the sky, then circling around, down to the earth. Eyes lifted to the light, to the light. Hands, branches catching rain. Breathe in, breathe out. Then rising like a stalk of grain. Breathe in, breathe out. Arms reaching to the sky, then circling around, down to the earth. Eyes lifted to the light, to the light. Hands open to the day. Breathe in, breathe out. Hands joined as if to pray. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out.
After 6 days, Jesus took with him Peter, James, and John, the brother of James, and led them up a high mountain by themselves. There he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. Just then there appeared before them Moses and Elijah, talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus,
Lord, it's good for us to be here. If you wish, I will put up 3 shelters. One for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah.
While he was still speaking, a bright cloud enveloped them, and a voice from the cloud said, This is my Son, whom I love. With him I am well pleased. Listen to him. When the disciples heard this, they fell face down to the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them.
Get up.
He said,
Don't be afraid.
When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus.
These times are getting the best of me. My mind, my soul, my tired body, my whole being is off. I keep looking for something familiar, something foundational, something solid that makes me feel secure. I think of you and search for a sermon, verse, or song, anything that used to soothe my troubles, feed my soul, enliven my spirit, keep me going. I want a message from a resistant prophet. I want an invitation to leave work and come see miracles. I want to know you love and protect me. I long to feel safe. Just come up strong around me. Hold me. You know, I used to think of you differently. I was so sure, so certain I had it all figured out. But then I experienced loss and emptiness and inhumanity and insanity and realized I had to grow up. I left all that I knew to know you, the you beyond the metaphors, the eternal, true God. You are more than I expected. Nothing and no one on earth is like you. There isn't anything that measures up to your love. It never loses, and it never leaves. You are the living will. You are the enduring love. You are the speaking word. You are the stabilizing matter, the ground of all being. Reassure us in our time of need, God. Surround us and secure us in your love. There isn't anything that measures up to your love. It never loses, and it never leaves.
We're a little dislocated these days. And like a dislocated elbow or shoulder, it kind of hurts. Now, when we think about time travel, we think of time machines and spaceships, or maybe Mr. Peabody and Sherman and their Wayback Machine. But, you know, the time travel that we've been experiencing has all been forward. We've been taken from what was more or less a comfortable time and place, and we've been shoved forward to experience things that we weren't quite ready for. I mean, it's been 10 months since we've worshiped in pews in our churches. We've been doing it all virtually, all online, gathering together separately around our screens. we probably would have got there in 10 or 15 years. But because of the pandemic, we got shoved forward. And we've done it in a matter of months instead of years. And lots of other things have changed around us at that same pace. And it leaves us confused and aching and wondering what normal is going to be. There's a wonderful time travel scene from the movie The Shawshank Redemption. Brooks was a fellow who thought he'd spend his whole life behind bars. And in old age, he gets paroled. And he experiences the dislocation of time travel because the entire world has changed while he was in prison.
Good luck, Roxy.
Dear fellas, I can't believe how fast things move on the outside. I saw an automobile once when I was a kid, but now they're everywhere. The world went and got itself in a big damn hurry. Parole board got me into this halfway house called the Brewer, and a job bagging groceries at the foodway. It's hard work, and I try to keep up, but my hands hurt most of the time.
Make sure your man double bags. Last time he didn't double bag, and the bottom near came out.
Make sure you double bag, like the lady says, understand?
Yes, sir. Surely will. I don't think the store manager likes me very much. I have trouble sleeping at night. I have bad dreams like I'm falling. I wake up scared. Sometimes it takes me a while to remember where I am.
You know, we're experiencing some of that same dislocation, that same confusion. I think the disciples felt that. I don't know that they knew they were time traveling, but the Roman Empire came in and dislocated them from this tradition that they'd been a part of since Moses and Elijah. Rome came in and said, we'll decide who your priests are. We'll decide who your king is. We'll decide how much you can afford in taxes. And their lives changed radically. They were shoved into a future that they weren't ready for. And those disciples, in the midst of that dislocation, James and John and Peter go up on that mountain with Jesus, and they see this dislocation. They see Moses and Elijah, the two great streams of tradition in their people, liberation and homecoming from exile. And they wonder if they will ever connect with that again. But then they see that connection. They see Jesus with those two great historical streams. And they hear that voice that says, "This is my beloved. Listen to this one. For with Jesus I am well pleased." Jesus becomes the new location. Jesus becomes the way that they find themselves located again in the stream of the history of what God is doing in their lives and in their world. And I think in our time of dislocation, where we feel like Brooks, that the whole world has changed and we don't know what to do, that we'll find in Christ that sense of location that makes sense of a changing world, that brings compassion and grace, justice and peace into a world that is in many ways fraying. We've been shoved into a future that we're not prepared for. But you know, Christ meets us where we are, when we are, and ready or not. So let's invite those who are feeling just as lost as we are to come together and listen to the Christ, to see if maybe we can find our new place in this rapidly changing world, and find that that place is always peace and compassion, justice, peace, and joy. When in the world are we? We are with Christ.
Oh God, our help in ages past, our hope in years to come, our shelter from the stormy past, and our eternal home. 1,000 ages in thy sight are like an evening gone, short as the watch that ends the night before the rising sun. Time like an ever-rolling stream, there's all who breathe away. They fly forgotten as a dream dies at the opening day.
The creative, compassionate ministry of Christ that is New Visions United Methodist needs your support. Your giving upholds acts of justice, Bible studies and current event studies, direct action, disaster relief, and the building of a more inclusive, diverse denomination. Go to www.newvisionsumc.org and click on the Give tab or text Give to 402-226-5977. First-time donors using the text method, once you set up your account, text the amount you want to give for future donations. Or simply send a check to 2400 South 11th Street, Lincoln, Nebraska 68502. Be a part of the future ministries Christ is creating at New Visions. And thank you.
We pause as we do every week for a moment of grace. And I haven't thought of it this way before, but you know, every time we do this, it's a little bit of time travel. Because we are connecting ourselves with the grace that Jesus shared 2,000 years ago. And we're connecting ourselves with all of our spiritual predecessors who in one way or another shared a meal of grace in order to experience the presence of Christ. And so this time that we've been shoved out of is also the time that comes together to make us a unity. So I invite you to find whatever you have for food or drink and rely on those as a means of grace for Christ to be present not just at your table, but to be present among us and across all those times out of which we have been displaced. Let us pray. Loving God, we are grateful that your grace is not limited by what we know of physics, of E equals mc squared, or those kinds of things. But beyond that kind of knowledge, there is a unity that comes, a timelessness that is known only by love. The love shown to us in Christ, and the love shared with us by Christ in the ordinary things of food. We remember how when he was together with his disciples, he took the bread on the table, gave thanks to you, O God, broke it and shared it with everyone there, saying, "Take and eat, and think of this bread as me, feeding you for this journey that you are on, giving you strength, nurturing your body and soul." When the supper was over, he took the cup, gave thanks to you, gave it to all of them seated around him, and said, "You know what? Everyone drink. Because in this cup is the lifeblood, is my lifeblood of our new covenant, poured out for you and for many. So that as separated as the world tries to make us be, we will always be one. As broken as the world tries to make us, we will always be healed. Remember me whenever you do this." And so we remember that we are still friends and family of Jesus Christ. And while we may be at home, we are still at your table, O Christ, still in the midst of your redeeming, healing, resurrecting love. Bless these gifts that they may be signs to us of your timeless unity. We're grateful that we are not left isolated on our own, that we are not lost on the choppy seas of time, but that you still seek us out, O Christ, wherever we are, to seat us at your table and to bring us home. Amen. There is so much these days to pray for. The pandemic rages around us, 400,000 lives now lost and counting. The inauguration, the beginning of a new administration, the leftover anger, just so many things to pray for. Normally I would try to put together a prayer for us, but a friend shared with me a prayer time from Christ Church UCC in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. I don't know anybody at that church, but their prayers helped me pray. And so I'm going to share their prayers in the hope that they will help you pray too.
Oh God, heal our hidden wounds. Heal our hidden wounds of hatred and fear, between black and white, between men and women, between us all.
Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy on us. Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy on us.
Oh God, grant us the courage to end the nightmare of violence and the terror of war.
Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy on us. Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy on us.
Oh God, soothe the intentional wounds, soon wounds born out of politics, the words of fear, the acts of injury. Leave justice in our hearts.
Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy on us. Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy on us.
O God, grant mercy on humankind, of every flesh, of every gender. Dispel our wayward thoughts.
Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy on us. Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy on us. Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy on us. Lord have mercy on us.
Mr. President, Dr. Biden, Madam Vice President, Mr. Emhoff, Americans, and the world. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We've braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always just is. And yet the dawn is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony for all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true. That even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we hurt, we hoped, that even as we tired, we tried, that we'll forever be tied together, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. Scripture tells us to envision that everyone shall sit under their own vine and fig tree, and no one shall make them afraid. If we're to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in all the bridges we've made. That is the promised glade, the hill we climb, if only we dare it, because being American is more than a pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. We've seen a force that would shatter our nation rather than share it, would destroy our country if it meant delaying democracy. And this effort very nearly succeeded. But while democracy can be periodically delayed, it can never be permanently defeated. In this truth, in this faith we trust, for while we have our eyes on the future, history has its eyes on us. This is the era of just redemption. We feared it at its inception. We did not feel prepared to be the heirs of such a terrifying hour, but within it we found the power to author a new chapter, to offer hope and laughter to ourselves. So, while once we asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? We will not march back to what was, but move to what shall be, a country that is bruised but whole, benevolent but bold, fierce and free. We will not be turned around or interrupted by intimidation, because we know our inaction and inertia will be the inheritance of the next generation. Our blunders become their burdens. But one thing is certain: if we merge mercy with might and might with right, then love becomes our legacy and change our children's birthright. So let us leave behind a country better than the one we were left. With every breath from my bronze-pounded chest, we will raise this wounded world into a wondrous one. We will rise from the gold-limbed hills of the west. We will rise from the wind-swept northeast, where our forefathers first realized revolution. We will rise from the lake-rimmed cities of the Midwestern states. We will rise from the sun-baked south. We will rebuild, reconcile, and recover in every known nook of our nation, in every corner called our country. Our people, diverse and beautiful, will emerge battered and beautiful. When day comes, we step out of the shade, aflame and unafraid. The new dawn blooms as we free it. For there is always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
Wade in the water, gonna trouble the water. The leader looks like an Israelite. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. See that band all dressed in red. God's gonna trouble the water. Looks like the band that Moses led. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water. Wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
Back to your regular programming, your regular lives, changed as they may be. We hope that as you've time traveled with us just a little bit this morning, that you found the one who is available in every time. The Christ who finds us lost in time and lost in our lives and gives us our location in love again. May you travel not just in time, but travel in grace and peace. Be a blessing to each other.